This Three Beards Media podcast may contain mature themes, and if you're not down with that, we got 3 words for you. Like the podcast. Nailed it!
Would you like to sample some of my nuts?
Hello, and welcome back to yet again another edition of Old Man Strength, a podcast of Three Beards Media and brought to you by Revelton Distilling Company. Please go ahead and check them out at 1400 West Clay Street in Osceola, Iowa. I am Tim Johnson, joined as always by Chris Shipley. Chris, how are we doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing even better now that I've poured my Revelton into the glass.
Oh, that's a good idea, as opposed to like in your lap.
Just
or,
no, I just usually like the days I had today. I normally just drink straight from the bottle, but I thought it'd be a little more.
You just put a nipple right on the bottle and just
Right.
you just suckle from it the whole night long.
I thought maybe I'd class it up for our guest tonight.
Oh well, that's good. That's good. How you been? Last podcast, I obviously had a lot on my mind. But what's new with you?
Not a lot. Just getting through with my mom and stuff like that. And we got back from Orlando, so we were in Orlando for the boys' trip with their Williams syndrome group. So I am glad to be home, and I think maybe Jordan might be getting sick. So I'm sure we were in a COVID fest down there. I mean, a bunch of people hugging each other and everything else. So I'm
fun.
I'm hanging out in my basement so I don't get sick.
Oh well, that's fun. I'll tell you what. I want to jump right in with our guest. This is astute listeners of the podcast will know that we have mentioned this gentleman several times on here before, or at least we have mentioned his hair.
Well, not anymore.
I just want to know. I did not say that.
No, that was me.
Very excited to have a Cyclone legend on the podcast. Chris, I don't want to steal this intro from you. Chris, why don't you go and introduce our guest then?
Well, I'm super excited to have him on because as a freshman in college, I got to watch him play personally. I was super excited to watch him. He played almost 5 years in the CFL. Played a little bit for the Jets, is now a successful mortgage broker in California. The one and only Blaise Bryant has joined us on Old Man Strength. Thanks so much, Blaise, for hopping on.
Thank you. Appreciate having me.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tim.
No. I was gonna say I made a little crack in the intro there, but I'm just gonna get it right out of the way, man. Flat top with a mullet at the exact same time. I don't know how you pulled off both haircuts at the exact same time. Do you care to comment?
Well, I don't know. I just kind of kept growing it, you know. I had a Wilder haircut in high school, and so I cut that off, and then I started with the mullet and the high top. And I just let it go, you know. No, you can only get away with that stuff, like, you know, in your younger days.
Right. Yeah. No,
It's gone.
No. Yeah, I know. I'm aware. I'm holding on to the last remnants of a once proud nation of hair over there.
I don't know that you could pull off any type of flat top, Chris, and any mullet would just be a little creepy at this point.
No, but to Blaise's point, like in the mid '80s, I was sporting a Jim McMahon haircut, spiked hair and everything. I mean, that was the way to go. So
I think you might have had an Ed McMahon haircut, but that's neither here nor there.
Nice.
So Blaise, this is how it's gonna go. I'm gonna rip on Chris and then pretend like I didn't say anything and jump right to you. So we kind of did not do justice for your legacy at Iowa State and beyond. But why don't you go ahead and give our listeners kind of a little brief history of who Blaise Bryant is?
I mean, starting from Iowa State, I went to the Jets for 2 years. And, I was behind Blair Thomas and them, back in those days. They was always going to ride out the first rounder. So after that, I went to the CFL, and I played really well there. And but I blew my knee out in the second year. So then I tried to get it back, and I got a tryout with the Niners, but they didn't trust my knee, so I had to go back to Canada. And so I played another year there in 95. Then in 96, I went to the Broncos. And again, then I'm behind Terrell Davis. And they pretty much had their running back core solidified. And so I finished up in the CFL and called it a day in 97.
So you come from a legacy of that late 80s, early 90s running back, like the big eight at the time, right? So you played around the same time as Barry Sanders, Thurman Thomas, all of these great backs in the big eight. Obviously an All-American yourself. What was it like to be part of that kind of that legendary big eight running back? I don't even know what you'd call it. It's the fraternity of those that late 80s, early 90s running backs, right?
Yeah, it felt good. It felt good. I mean, Eric Bieniemy, God, there was another guy from Oklahoma that got hurt that was phenomenal. God, I can't think of his name. He passed away too. I can't think of his name. But he was great too. Yeah, I mean, it feels good, I'm glad that, it expanded to the Big 12, and I'm glad we're back, with more teams. And, I'm a Cyclone for life.
So I'll ask this question. We had George Condon on last year, and that era, let's be honest, was not a heyday for Iowa State. What makes Blaise Bryant choose Iowa State out of all the choices he could have had?
I mean, at a community college, I was gonna go to, like Miami or somewhere in the SEC, and no real Pac-10 teams, were even giving me any love, coming out of community college. And so my community college coach was like, Blaise, I think you can play anywhere, but you only have 2 years to play 3. So if you're going to make a decision, go with the team that doesn't have a returning starting running back. So then I kind of narrowed it down to where I felt that I could come in and play and not just sit there and be number 5 or number 7 or just never get a shot.
Yeah, that's kind of sounds like when I chose my major, and I just find the closest major I'm closest to and then go for it. But that makes sense. You get your playing time and so on, and you played exclusively for Walden, right?
Yes.
Yep. What was Jim Walden like? I would love to be able to talk to him. What was Jim Walden like?
Really, really funny. A jokester, definitely hardcore at practice though, but he always had a joke at the end of practice. But he was real big on fitness, like we had to be in shape, and we had to know our assignments. Yeah, but just a really, really good guy all around.
Well, and so you weren't the only All-American on that team, right? Mike Bush was like who else was an All-American on that team?
I think Bush might have been.
I think Mike Bush might have been the same year that you were, right? Like there was a lot of talent on that offense.
Yeah, my junior year, we had talent, offense and defense, and we should have won at least 3 more games. We should have been 8-3 or 9-2.
The amount of Iowa State teams in my lifetime that that finished, below bowl eligibility, but all of their losses were like 1-score games, 2-score game, 10-point games, like all of these. I mean, even last year, you look at the Iowa State team, only one of their losses was a blowout. One was a 2-score game. All the rest of the losses were 1-score losses. Like it's a lot of close. You went through that at your time at Iowa State, where a lot of games where you guys could have been on the cusp of something great.
You're right. We should have beat Minnesota. We should have beat Iowa. We should have beat Oklahoma. And
Yeah.
there's 3 right there. You know,
Yep.
that makes us 9-2. And but yeah, that I always thought there was a curse with Iowa State. I remember, I want to say it was 2009 or 10, and we were like on the 1 yard line, first down. If we score, we beat Texas and go to the Big 12 championship.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm on the computer ready to book my ticket. I'm ready. I'm ready, goddammit. I'm ready, you know. And first down. All right, that's all right. That's all right. Second down. Okay, we can get in this. Third down. Come on, Garterman. Fourth. Oh, what the hell? I'm still upset about that one.
No, I remember that game very vividly. I was at a Cyclone bar in Denver at the time watching that, and I was very, very excited, and I left that bar all by myself, and I walked back to my hotel room, and I just kind of sat there for a while. Like it was within our grasp.
I still can't get over it. I'm still not right about it. Push the fucker in, for Christ.
So obviously, still a very passionate Cyclone fan. What's it like to follow the Cyclones on the West Coast?
I mean, it's great. I mean, this coach has brought us a lot of limelight and a lot of publicity. So I'm finally getting acknowledged for being a Cyclone. I go to the gym with my mayor jersey on, you know. People used to frown at me. Now they're like, Cyclones, all right. Yeah, it's good. You know, I mean, we got Brock Purdy in San Fran, which is, you know, my daughter goes to San Jose State, so she's like 15 minutes away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so it's good. It's good. You know, we got Bryce and there's a McDonald over at the Jets. I think Kohler's still at the Ravens, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then Lazard is with the Jets as well.
Lazard, I think I talk to his dad all the time. Got a signed jersey from him.
Yeah.
Nice. I like that.
Nice.
So, you know, yeah.
Speaking of signing stuff, Blaise, we got a comment here from somebody. I'm curious if you remember this. This person says, when I was in college, when Blaise was playing at Iowa State, I knew a young boy from a nearby town of mine. He was a huge Iowa State fan. He had major health problems. Called him up, and he said, stop by, and he signed an autograph for him. He's a classy guy in my book.
I remember.
Yeah?
Yeah. And I tried to sign as many as I could. Because you know why? I'm going to tell you a little story. Back when I was a kid, I went to the Angel game, and Reggie Jackson was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm screaming, got my little sign, Reggie! Came over, Reggie, can you sign this? He said, get out of here, kid. So I'm like, that's not even right. I said a couple of things I don't want to say on the cast to him. You know, I'll fight him in the street if I see him today. You know, I mean, he's so wrong for that. You know, and we were all lined up, a bunch of little league kids fired up, and he just gave us the finger, the middle finger. He did.
Wow.
So that's why I just felt like if I ever got in that situation, I'm going to sign everything.
So, you know, you mentioned players like Breece Hall or David Montgomery, guys who have been, I think, more than giving of their time. I think certainly the Matt Campbell era, you see a lot of that giving, but I think a lot of Iowa State players over the years have been. Maybe that comes with just the territory of the humility that has to be with Iowa State. But it does seem like there's something about Iowa State players that seem very giving of their time.
I think it's the culture of it all.
Uh-huh.
You know, I mean, the people are really great. The students are great. I think we're all kind of in one big circle of bubble for life. I mean, there's probably 16 of us that own a group text for the last 5 or 7 years that just talk trash back and forth. And, you know, Kevin Lazard is one of them, you know. And,
yep.
So he gives us most of the play-by-play because he still lives in Iowa.
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, everyone that I've sent a jersey to has signed it for me, except for Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy grabbed coffee with my nephew when they were at Iowa State, and I keep on trying to get my nephew to hook me up with a Brock Purdy interview. I don't know how that's gonna go. We were lucky enough to get Bryce on the podcast, and I was really hoping we'd be able to get Brock on. But we have so you're now. Honestly, you're kind of the initial in a long line of Iowa State running backs to have a lot of success, right? Certainly for my lifetime were kind of like the first one to really show that Iowa State has this ground game. Obviously, Troy came in after you, and then we've had a lot of success with a lot of other running backs who have made their name in the NFL. Anyone from, even Kane Nwangu on the Vikings, like a lot of running backs that have come in and out of this program, and some that maybe even haven't had as much success on the next level. But it's been a series of running backs. What's it been like for you to sort of be now sitting back as the elder statesman, watching all of these guys come through that program and have success at the position that you played?
Oh, I love it. I mean, I love the change of it all. I love the grass and no more turf.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it was an absolute shame that you had to play on, an agricultural school had that garbage field inside.
Oh God, that and Kansas State had to be the two worst.
Yeah,
I mean, Kansas State had that big Jayhawk on it that was painted, and they would just paint over it. I'd get the ball, I swear I'd run the other way. Because if you landed on that Jayhawk, it was like a third-degree burn. Yeah. But, I mean, it's what they've done with the facilities and everything is amazing. It really is. And the facilities were good when I was there. I'm not going to lie. They weren't that great in Canada. No offense, Winnipeg. But they weren't that great. And the Jets were good. The Broncos had good facilities. But I would say that Iowa State was right there with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but now it's amazing what you see.
So what's it like watching? You've spent the last however many years. I'm not gonna say to age any of us, but you spent last amount of years watching guys break a lot of your records. For what you did. What's it been like to see guys do? You set the bar, at least for me, for what an Iowa State running back should be, and now you've had a chance to see all these guys come through. What's that been like for you to see that?
It's funny you say that because I set a record in Canada back in '94, and somebody broke it in 2009, and they called me and interviewed me. And I'll say the same thing. I am happy for anyone having a good game.
Yeah,
anyone. I don't care about the records or anything like that. If someone is having a good game and feeling it, let them feel it. Let them show out. I mean, more power to them. I don't think any record should stand forever.
Sure.
And I mean, anyone breaks mine, I'm proud of them.
So as you you look through all of those players that have come and gone. A couple weeks ago, Iowa State played Oklahoma State. If I recall, when you were in college, Coach Van Gundy was quarterback on the other side of that ball.
He was my junior year.
What's it like seeing someone like that in that position for you?
It's good. It's good. I wish he wouldn't have cut his mullet, but it is good. He kind of cut a piece of me away when he cut that. I'm all right. I'm gonna get over that one too. It's good. I mean, I think it's amazing to go from that, to coaching, because the coaching is tough, and to motivate, some 18 to 23-year-old is something in itself. And that he knew that he could do that is amazing.
Chris has 18 to 23-year-olds. He can tell you how difficult it is to motivate.
It is,
yeah, right. Anything. I would love to know the playbook to that.
Right. I mean,
I'd be ecstatic if they just clean their rooms.
3 years and it was tough.
I'd be ecstatic if they just clean their rooms around here.
Right. And now they got money too. Oh,
yeah, mine. Yeah, mine.
They need to pay me for my visor.
That's right. He transitioned into the coaching profession and so on. When your playing career ended, what were your initial thoughts there? Where did you know exactly what you wanted to go do, or how did you transition into what you did after football?
I didn't have a clue. Like honestly, I chased it for so long. I just didn't really have a clue. And then when the Broncos cut me, I was already 27. 28 for a running back is old.
Right.
And so I just let me go finish up and try to figure out what I want to do, which nothing came to my mind. So I came home and I started working at this track and field company called Venue Athletics in Torrance. And I loved the job, but I knew it wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't paying me shit either. I mean, I wasn't shit. Iowa State was paying me more than that. And so a buddy of mine, he owned his mortgage company, and he's been recruiting me since I was 18. And so finally, I was like, all right, let me see what he's got to say. So at 28, I went to go work for him. And by the time I was 34, I started my own company.
Nice. So you've been in the mortgage game ever since.
Yes.
What has that been like as kind of your? It really is. It's a second career. In a lot of ways. What has that been like for you?
I mean, it's good. I mean, overall, I think I've been very successful. I've had a couple of bad years, 2008, but I've always found a way to slip and move around it. And I used to just do mortgages. That's all I did. And 2008, I got a contract with Citibank and NationStar, and I started selling their foreclosures. So then I stopped just doing mortgages, and I opened up another line with real estate agents and called it Bryant Properties, and that kept me afloat.
Yes.
And now it seems like we're going through another transition. So I mean, we'll see. But I do feel, something had to give, especially out here. I mean,
yeah,
people no one can just afford $1 million condo.
Right.
Hey, I think about it. I bought a house this past spring because I'm nothing if not good with timing and chose when interest rates were terrible to do that. And housing out here is in Minneapolis is certainly a challenge in and of itself, but California has to be I don't know how that's sustainable for anyone trying to make a living to ever own a home.
Hold on a second. I lost you guys.
You there?
Yeah, where'd you go? Are you?
Yep, you here?
It went blank. Where'd it go?
This is a very quintessential old man strength moment where our guest is an old man who can't figure out technology.
There we go.
There we go. Perfect.
We were just saying that's a perfect segue for old man strength because that was a total old man move, not knowing how to work the computer.
I got limitations of what I can do.
So
he sells mortgages. He doesn't work on computers. His job is mortgages.
So I'm saying,
That's what they used to tell me when I worked at Wells Fargo at the help desk for home mortgage. We'd get these calls, and these people would have no fucking clue how to use their computers. And our bosses would be like, we didn't hire them to work a computer. We hired them to sell loans. Your job is to help them work their computer. So I get it.
Yeah. So Blaise, I wonder, obviously your life isn't just defined by football, but football is a big point of who you are, and it's a lot of who made you who you are. What what lessons do you think you got from playing competitive sports that you've taken with you into the mortgage industry?
I mean, well, back in our day, I mean, when you played sports, it was yes, sir, no, sir.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
It was military, and sitting on a knee, holding hands, saying "Our Father, Lord in heaven." But it's definitely discipline, just because of the way it was back in those days, and just just how to compete, and just keep going, no matter good times, bad times, just keep going. I think veterans and athletes have a certain creed about themselves of work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one thing that football taught me was work ethic and have a short memory. Because sitting around crying ain't going to do nothing for you. So you got to pick yourself up, because when you fumble, and I fumbled a lot, and you're walking out, it just feels like the whole stadium is staring at you, and they probably are. And you got to get it out. You got to get it out of your brain.
Yeah.
And get back out there and try to make up for it. Because I'm going to tell you something. Whenever you fumble, they always score. I don't know what it is. I mean, why can't they just kick a field goal? They always score. Now I feel like I owe the team 7 points because I let the rock on the ground.
Yeah.
So we had Coach McCarney on last year and asked him this question, and what you just said kind of reminded me with the transfer portal and how it's so easy now to transfer out of a situation. I'm curious what your thoughts are, because you talk about, having to tough it out and dealing with adversity. Do you think that the transfer portal helps kids get out of that now and not necessarily stick it out and work harder when they can just, if things aren't going their way, they can just up and move? Or are you somebody that thinks the transfer portal is good for college football?
I like it. And not for the reasons that a lot of kids are doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say I went to Fresno State.
Mm-hmm.
But in my brain, I want to play in the Big Eight.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a great year at Fresno State, and obviously I shouldn't be here.
Yep.
They missed it,
Yep.
Like, how did Josh Allen get to Wyoming? I don't know. It just, he could have transferred out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I like it for that. I don't like it, I'm not playing so as a freshman, so I'm going to transfer. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Burrows, I like. He gave it at Ohio State. They just weren't going to play him.
Yeah.
So he had to go where he could play.
Yeah.
And, I mean, basically the same thing happened to me in the NFL. It's like, it wasn't that they were better than I was. They just wouldn't play me. They just wouldn't give me the ball.
So
obviously, as you see, when Canadian gave me the ball, I'm breaking records again.
So that was one thing I wanted to ask, because I know that you've brought this up in the past. The NFL is as much politics as like the corporate world is, right? That it's not about who's the best running back, who's the fastest, who's the strongest, who's the whatever. Sometimes it's that who catches the coach's eye the right way, or who has the most team connections or whatever. Like help explain to me, because we've had other former NFL players and current NFL players on the podcast before. It's a dynamic that I think the casual fan doesn't necessarily understand, like what goes into making a roster or making a team or any of that.
Yeah, I mean, it was the worst time I've ever had playing football.
Mm-hmm.
It was racist. It was segregated. It was all blacks on one side of the locker room, whites on the other.
Mm-hmm.
When you went out with all blacks. And maybe that's me from the West Coast. I'm different than that.
Sure.
But first, second round rules. You first, second round, you can do whatever you want. You behind that, they're looking to cut you.
Yeah.
I mean, and unless somebody gets hurt, you're not getting in.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Brock. I mean, let's just call it how it is.
I was gonna say
Right.
Brock Purdy's a great example of that. Is that he is a 7th-round pick, and everyone wants to call him a system quarterback, and he's not good enough, and he's not whatever, yada yada yada. Trey Lance was a 1st-round pick, and everyone's like, oh, he never got his fair shake, he never got his due, he never whatever. But he worked in the same offense, he worked with the same coaches, he worked with the same everything. And literally, if you were picked early, everyone wants to give you the benefit of the doubt, and if you're picked late or signed as an undrafted free agent or whatever, you're not given a fair shake. And so it's not even a matter of what you're doing when you're at camp; it's about what expectations came when you came into camp.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yes. Because I've wrecked every camp I've been in.
Yeah.
I mean, and my camp in the Broncos was so good. I was like, it was like probably, God, 2000 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And I ran into a couple players at the mall in Vegas. And they put a tape together on how to do things the right way. And they said the tape is only maybe 10 plays. You're 10 of them. You know what I was like? You know, stuff like that. I mean, there's nothing you can do. I mean, you're handcuffed. You know?
I think it might be ego too.
Yeah, the front office doesn't want to admit that they made a mistake.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say. Right. Yep. There's too many egos. That's why you have pundits and stuff on TV now trying to find a reason to still knock Brock down because they don't want to admit that they were wrong and that they missed out on something. And I remember going into his junior year, there were mock drafts that had him in the top 10.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden he's not worth 7 rounds of draft choices after he won the Fiesta Bowl. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, but can you imagine literally any other industry in the world where people are sitting there judging who you hired and when you hired them in the hiring process? Like,
treat you the way they treat you.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like in the Jets, all the running backs were black.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a black coach. They called us the running blacks.
Oh my God.
I mean, it was terrible, you know. I was almost relieved to get cut. You know, it was terrible, you know. But then, then you start having self-doubt because I'm like, 23 years old.
Yeah.
And so then I go to Canada. And this guy named was Michael Richardson. And he was like rookie of the year the year before. I'm like, how do I keep getting myself in these situations? And the guy could play. I'm not even gonna lie to you. He could play, And so, I'm not getting much run, and there's only 2 preseason games.
Yep. And
so the second one, he gets hurt. So I run out there. I'm like, all right, Blaise, what you gonna do, man? You got your shot. And they're like, well, you haven't really ran it in 2 years. So And so I ended up having 115 yards and I think two or three touchdowns in the second half. And then I opened up the season and against Calgary, I met Doug Flutie.
Sure.
And so I think I ran for 81 yards and caught for 61 and a touchdown. And I was feeling good about myself. And the paper came and I got ripped apart. Oh, he got Michael Richardson. Well, Michael Richardson better get healthy. Oh, Michael Richardson. And so I'm sitting there fuming, because I hadn't played in a while. I felt good. And I'm being used differently too. And next game, I'm player of the week. And then the next game, they give me the ball twice. And they say, well, you didn't do as well as you did before, so we'll go with Mike. I said, just tell me you want Mike back in,
Yeah.
And so it was kind of crazy, at my first year in Canada. And, they cut me because they didn't want to pay my salary. So they thought that I wouldn't clear waivers and they could sign me for less money. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders picked me up because that was a team I beat in the preseason game.
Yeah. So
remember Stewart from Iowa?
Yeah. Absolutely.
He got hurt, so they needed a running back. So I go there in the plane ride there. They worked out a deal to loan me to Saskatchewan for 2 games. So I play there for 2 weeks, come back to Winnipeg, and then they make me the designated import. So what that means is, in Canada, it's like half Americans, half Canadians.
Mm-hmm.
But one guy can be the designated import, and then you pretty much play every position.
Yeah.
So I was like wide receiver, linebacker, running back, everything. And then he just cut Mike after the end of the season and told me don't make him look bad. And the rest was history.
So that makes me think of 2 questions. The first one is, I obviously Bryce is in an interesting situation in New York. He's sharing. Not only was he already sharing carries going into the season, but then they brought in Dalvin Cook here from Minnesota, who I'm not sad to be missing, frankly. The Vikings have their own issues. Let's not even get into that.
We don't got that kind of time, Tim.
Chris is a Bears fan, so he can just shut up. But not only was Bryce already having to fight and then coming off of injury, and we had talked to him after his injury and how rehab was going, and we knew he was going to be ready to go. But then he even has these great games, and then like the very next game, they're giving him like 4 touches, right? Like he's going through that exact same scenario. So I don't know, like, if you have any relationship with any players, but like what advice would you give to someone like Bryce Hall in that situation?
I mean, just keep your head down and just keep running. Because the lowest points that I got in my career, it always came back to the same thing. Blaise, just run. Stop thinking and just run. Because I mean that league is so cutthroat. I mean, like Jeff Garcia got in because Steve Young got a concussion and Drunkenmiller sucked.
Yep.
And so he's my boy he played in Calgary.
Yep.
So he's my boy to this day. And I mean, he was balling at the 49ers.
Yeah.
And they got rid of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all I can say is just keep your head down and play, because you never know what they're thinking or going to do. But they're going to ride with that first rounder until he rides himself out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like they want the first rounder to make a mistake, so I feel they don't have to tell the owner that they made a mistake.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to Chris's point about ego. Is like at the end of the day, they've made it. Well, I mean, you see that like in literally everything. The amount of bad processes at a job that I've ever had to put up with because someone didn't want to admit that they made a bad SOP or whatever. Like it happens all over the place.
Right.
It just gets amplified in that. But also the other question I had, right? So you went and you found success in the CFL. Another Cyclone running back after you, and Troy Davis, also found a lot more success in the CFL than the NFL. What do you think is the difference for guys like you? Because you guys, maybe not exactly similar style running back, but kind of same vein. What do you think was the difference between the NFL and the CFL for both of you guys?
Well, it's funny because I was always a really good receiver.
Uh-huh.
But I guess, go up to the 80s, they just like to feed it, you pop one,
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, hey, that's the time of the I formation, right? That long forgotten formation. So,
yeah, and when I got to Canada, they put smaller pads on me, and flanked me out and wide out the slot and everything else in the world. So sometimes I'd have 110 yards receiving and 60 rushing.
Mm-hmm.
They had me doing a lot of things that I didn't do before. And, when he would put me in motion, and he'd say, if the linebacker runs out there with you, 2 things are going to happen. You're going to beat him, or he's going to tackle you. And I'd never seen the game like that.
Yeah, sure.
Like everything was misdirection and trying to get a mismatch.
Yeah.
And it's basically what they do now in the NFL.
I was gonna say that does not sound like 80s, early 90s NFL to me, but that sounds exactly like 2010s NFL to me.
Yeah, they did me the same way they're doing McCaffrey now.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's a part of my game that I already knew was there, but no one ever used it.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and it's funny. In high school, they threw the ball at me 3 times. I scored 3 times. But you know, his name was Cal Murphy. He was a football genius.
Uh-huh.
And he just knew what guys could do, where to place them, how to challenge them. Old school as hell, though. I mean,
sure.
old school, you know. But real Vince Lombardi type. But he knew his shit, though. He really did. You know, he had me blocking punts, everything.
Nice.
You know, he knew his game. And rest in peace. But he was a great coach.
Do you sometimes look at the offenses now that they're using and man, I clean right now.
You guys froze. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Can you hear me?
There we go. Yeah.
Sorry. Chris froze for a second, but he was saying, do you look at defenses now and think, man, I would clean up?
Yes.
And the way the offenses are set up now and the spread and constantly in the shot, things like that.
Yes. Actually, my senior year at Iowa State, I asked Walden to let me play quarterback. You know,
oh, how'd that conversation go?
He didn't like it, but I'm like, we had Sherman Williams, who was another good running back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I wanted to get him on the field. So I said, well, let's just get like 10 or 12 plays, you know, that I could come in and they can't just key on me my senior year. Because a lot of things that happened my senior year is like there were 2 guys following me everywhere I went.
Sure. Yeah, it completely changes that, and it's been interesting to see how much the NFL has migrated to running back by committee, right?
Yes.
It's only been what? I'm gonna say 10 years, but I realize I'm old. It's been a lot longer since they've migrated to running back by committee. You haven't had like single starters since probably like the Sean Alexander era, which to me still feels like yesterday. But anyway, just the idea that you have all these running back by committee, they expect there to be 2 to 3 guys to carry that load. It's very different. It's very rare to see. Maybe if you're the Dolphins to score, have 1,000 yards a game and stuff like that you get, multiple guys rushing. But back in the day, like in the Big 8, when you were playing 2 guys with 100 yards rushing in the same game was not that unheard of. It wasn't a big deal.
No, that would have never happened, and I think a lot of it has to do with a lot of the coaches have gotten a lot younger, and they definitely studied some CFL,
sure,
and how to use somebody that is talented like this guy Bijan Robinson. He's another one, But back in my day, you wouldn't know he could do everything he can do.
Yeah,
he would just be back there getting fed.
Yeah. There certainly wasn't a wildcat offense where you're seeing guys, a lot more creativity in the backfield, I think, than you would have had before.
And
sure.
and back in our days, them the steroid days. Them linebackers were huge. Flank me out and see if you can run with me. You know what I mean? When you look at it, how good it could have been.
Yep.
It could have definitely changed the game. It would definitely slowed Bosworth and those guys down.
For sure.
Came back and come at you.
Yeah. Well, so Blaise, we're gonna take a quick break here. We're gonna grab a word from our sponsor. I want to get back and I want to talk a little bit more about how the game has evolved, what you've noticed over the years, the good, the bad, those types of things. So we're gonna grab a word from our sponsor at Revelton Distilling Company, and then we'll be right back to get a little bit more thoughts on the evolution of the game.
All right. Thank you.
At Revelton Distilling Company, everyone has become a part of the Revelton family. From the Taylors and their daughter who helped perfect their award-winning gins, to the team who installed Lucy, our 33-foot-tall custom-made still, right down to the local farms that provide our coveted corn, and even the cows on those farms who consume our mash byproduct. Want to see the farm to flask come to life? Now you can tour Lucy and find out where we take Iowa's harvest and transform it into our finest spirits. Choose between a 45-minute tour or find out even more by scheduling a VIP behind-the-scenes tour to get the taste of the full Revelton experience. You can visit them at 1400 West Clay Street in Osceola, Iowa, or find all of Revelton's award-winning spirits at any local grocery or spirits retailer.
Welcome back. In case you had fallen asleep, because I'm very boring over the last half hour or so, this is Old Man Strength. Or if you've stumbled upon this in the middle of this, thank you very much. Please go ahead and check out our sponsor, Revelton Distilling at Osceola, in Osceola, Iowa, 1400 West Clay Street in Osceola, Iowa. It's funny. Up here, it's Osceola in Osceola, Wisconsin, and Osceola Street here, and I don't know the difference between Osceola and Osceola, so I always screw them up. It's just like Nevada and Nevada. I don't understand the difference. So Blaise, before the break, I kind of teased it. So you've watched the game evolve, whether that be into a multi-back system and a spread offense. A lot more creativity and play calling. What do you think are kind of like the biggest changes that you've been excited about, and what are the things that you probably lament the most about what's changed in the game?
I mean, I think a lot of the multi-back system is basically, in our day, if you pulled yourself out, tapped because you were tired, they would call you soft.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the ego stuff that we had to go through trying to be a tough guy.
Sure.
When you actually needed a blow, when you actually, needed to go out,
Yeah. Sure.
Is gone. And I do like that.
Yeah. It kind of reminds me in baseball where the idea of a starter going more than 5 innings, like if a starter was done after 5 innings, you would have said it wasn't a successful start. Now that's like, if a starter goes 5 innings, you think, holy, like, how do they do that? That's already amazing. Like, it just changed what people think about their health.
Exactly. Like we beat each other up so much just in practice.
Mm-hmm.
I think now they've kind of loosened up on that, and you don't have to be a superhero anymore and play when you're seeing stars and everything else. And, I would just lay there until it stopped circling.
Yeah.
And then I would get up. I'd wait for the rep, 21 to get up. Oh, is it that?
I was thinking about when my friend Brad got knocked out in high school football, and he did not know where he was. And then we played him the next quarter, and I was like, thank God he played for a 2-6 team. Otherwise, I don't know what we would have done. Like literally just the idea that you had to sacrifice your health for God knows what at the time.
Yes. I mean, really, that's kind of the reason I quit. Because the game plan was I was going to play in Canada until I was maybe 30 and then figure it out. But the last game, I was going out for a pass, and I took one right there. Mm-hmm. And I was out on my feet. And then I just collapsed. And the guy that hit me was out, and I was out. And then I told you I had that old coach that was crazy.
Yeah.
And I just heard his voice kept screaming, like, is he ready yet? Is he ready? And I was doing the smelling stuff. And he's like, well, how fucking long is it going to fucking take to get ready? Well, I'm like, where the fuck is my helmet? Goddamn, And that's the last I remember.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, sitting in front of my locker, and a guy came up and said, man, you got knocked out, came back running like Roger Craig. I was like, yeah, really? And I ended up scoring a game-winning touchdown. Don't remember shit. Ugh. And it was a good 50, 60-yard drive. Don't remember. And they gave it to me like 5 of the 6 times. I was actually standing out there. They were jumping on me. Don't remember it all.
Yeah.
I saw the film like, ooh, it's time to go.
So yeah, as much as like people were able to have success, like one of the good things now is that they're a little bit more conscious of people's obviously everything we know about CTE that we didn't know back when you were playing, right?
But not just that. I mean, this, you can't run a 60-yard bomb, full speed with a brother chasing you, and come back and do it again and not need a blow. Back in our day, they didn't want to give you a blow.
Sure. I
mean, they barely gave us water, for Christ's sake. It was tough. So, I mean, I've seen that evolve, but just, opening up the playbook and finding these coaches now that know what every player's good at doing instead of trying to make a player do something he's not good at doing and then saying he sucks.
Yep.
You know, like, some of these guys are just outside speed rushers, run stoppers. But in our day, they would call him a pussy, you know?
Sure.
You know, in this day, he's a superstar edge rusher.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, just things like that evolved and it changes is what I really like. I like the different formations. I like the snap counts, even though I feel there should only be 2 snap counts. On 1 and 4 snaps. I don't need on 3. I got enough shit in my mind anyway. You know?
Sure. But like, the positions have changed. Like there, like people didn't talk about what a Mike linebacker was back in the 80s, right? Yeah. You know, like it's become so specialized. And then you've also seen, tight ends are wide receivers now.
There you go. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Found out what a guy can do.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was just Kellen Winslow.
Yeah. And now you put all the basketball players as tight ends.
Right. You know what a guy can do and his talent,
Yeah.
And I mean, back in the day, if you couldn't fit what they wanted you to do, you were done. You might not get another shot.
Okay, so that's what you've enjoyed seeing in the evolution of the game. My second half of that question, what about the change in the game do you think is the most challenging for you to see over the years?
Targeting. I can't
you and everybody else.
You're trying to get the motherfucker down. I mean, I'm sorry. Any way you get this bastard to the ground, get his ass down. I don't understand. This guy makes a move and my helmet hits his helmet and I'm ejected. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
We all know what a dirty hit is. We all know. I've done a few. We all know. Kick him out for that. But this a guy trying to get somebody down, just playing hard. I don't like it.
Literally, just the physics of what it takes to make a tackle seems almost impossible to not have helmet to helmet contact, right? Like, because the other option is that I'm going for his knees, which is also going to be called a penalty. So, like, yeah, like I get, yes, you're right. There are dirty. I feel like targeting is similar to like in the NBA with flops. If you just don't reward the bad behavior, you don't have to have a rule against the bad behavior.
Right. And again, we know what a dirty hit is. Back in our day, coach would tell you, you might as well catch it. You don't get hit anyways. But coach, it's an uncatchable ball. You know what I mean? And you get up getting your feet taken out of you on a ball that's 5 feet over your head. That's a dirty hit. But back in our day, that was legal. So I'm glad that's gone. But there has to be something, where if a guy's just trying to get somebody on the ground, and you happen to lean this way when he's shooting that way, and you hit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that's the one I really can't stand.
Okay.
Well, nobody knows what it is. Nobody knows. It's not consistent. Nobody knows what it is. I mean, to your point, it's so subjective that one guy's eyes might think completely different.
I mean, we don't know what any rule in football is anymore. We don't know what a tuck is. We don't know what a catch is. We don't know what target.
We don't know what pass interference is.
Yeah. All we know is don't touch that quarterback. Whatever you do, leave that motherfucker alone.
Yeah, I know.
If he's got the ball, just hold him up.
The series that has forever changed my opinion of sports, and I can literally tell you the game where my opinion of sports as a fan. I've never been a blame the refs guy. Like I don't want to be an official. Like I have a hard time judging anything around me during the day, right? Like I don't know if I beat that yellow light into a red light or not. I'm terrible at just judging those things. I do not want to be an official. But the one game that I can tell you forever changed, and it's sad it took me this long, but Alan Lazard against Kansas State,
2017.
I was gonna say I know this lives in Chris's because literally you look at everything. He's literally being hugged in the yard. The ball is 10 yards away, very catchable ball, and it happened twice and that was a huge difference. And for me, that's when I finally went, you know what? I just need to accept that like I don't know what any rule is anymore. Like none of them
And
makes.
they picked the flag up.
Yeah,
That's what slays me about that play is they threw the flag and then picked it up.
Yeah,
so you clearly thought at the time it was a foul.
True, but you don't know the curse of Iowa State.
Blaise. I
I
haven't lived it like you have, but I've seen it.
I haven't seen the whole process.
Yeah.
Iowa State has always gotten the worst calls. I don't give a damn if it's basketball, softball, volleyball, football. They're not going to call it for us.
That field goal against Ohio this year that was very clearly through that they didn't call, the Jamie Cole field goal against Alabama in Shreveport will forever live in infamy. Obviously, Seneca was
that
in.
Was good.
We all can agree that Seneca was in. All of
Jeremiah George got that fumble on the goal line against Texas.
Absolutely. So many of these things that stick out in, I want to say recent memory, but even those in the last 20 years. But my parents went to Iowa State. I've been a Cyclone fan for forever. I can remember so many of those calls, and you hate to say that there's a curse, but also there is a legitimate, like, Iowa State just isn't going to get.
Yeah, I just Campbell has brought a lot of good publicity to us, but I think if we don't flat out just wear a team out and beat them by 20, 30, if it's close, we're losing. We're not getting the call.
Yeah.
If it's tight, it's going to Oklahoma, it's going to Texas, it's not going our way. It's going to Iowa. It would not.
Kansas getting a phantom layup in the middle of free throws,
right?
And the fact that, like, to this day, even if you talk like honest Jayhawk fans, be like, yeah, we got away with one. But some people are like, no, that's just how basketball is played. No, that's not how that goes. Like literally.
No.
So, Blaise, I know you watch not just Iowa State football. I know you watch Iowa State sports. I know that you're out on the West Coast, and maybe you don't get to see as many Iowa State games. And you don't get to make it back here as much as you'd like to Iowa State games. But you do follow Iowa State sports. What's it's been like as you've watched? Because I mean, frankly, since your time here, you were on the ground floor of, the end of the Walden era, going into the McCarney era, going into Paul, let's ignore Gene Chizik, all of those other things, but also in basketball, right? You were here when Johnny Orr was creating Hilton Magic, right? Like, you've been here as part of Iowa State, as at the forefront of kind of a golden era of Iowa State. What's it been like for you to watch the progression of Iowa State athletics, not just football?
Oh, I love it. I really do. I'm drawing a blank now, and I shouldn't. I hope he's not watching. But the coach before Campbell brought a lot
Paul
of
Rhodes.
Paul Rhodes.
Rhodes.
Coach Rhodes. Yeah.
That's my main man. I love him to death.
Yeah.
And he brought me back in 2011. And they had me out, like, after the first quarter. They put me on the field and everything else. And we were playing Oklahoma State that was ranked, like, number 2.
Oh, that was the night that Jeff Woody scored the touchdown.
Yes.
Yeah.
I damn near died that night.
Yeah, well, I had tickets to that game. My wife made plans to go to the zoo in Omaha, and I couldn't go.
Oh my God!
I watched it from my basement here in Minnesota, and my wife at the time was an Iowa State grad as well, and I thought I was going to burn my house down. I was so excited. I
was on the sidelines, and they won, and I ran out there, and I was hopping around. Next thing I know, I'm surrounded. I'm like, oh my God, if you fall, you're going to die.
I mean, I remember in your era going and trying to grab a goalpost and maybe take it to Lake Laverne. The stadium was a little bit more open then, right? I do recall a couple of goalposts stealing going into Lake Laverne. You can't do that now. What do you think was the craziest Iowa State football win at the time? Cyclone Stadium, right? It was
Yes.
yeah,
That was the best I've ever been because we were getting destroyed.
yeah,
It was like 25-3 at halftime.
yeah.
And we was making arrangements to go back to West Des Moines and start drinking. my boys were like, all right, if they put another touchdown, make it 32-3, we're out of here. I'm like, cool, right? And then Iowa State scored. Then we tied it, went into overtime.
Yeah.
Then I almost died on the field.
And
I had like a wool trench coat on and shit. I'm like, oh God. Don't get that excited and run out there. It's frightening.
What's your favorite non-football Iowa State memory?
It's gotta be March Madness.
Yeah.
I've had some good runs in March Madness. Starting out with Marcus Pfizer.
Yep.
I remember in 2014 we beat North Carolina in March Madness. I've been in Vegas a lot watching March Madness. That's why it's so good to me, just drunk, wow,
Yeah. Well, I mean, you
March Madness and we lost. We did, but I went to the Big 12 championship game in 2020, that COVID year.
Oh yeah,
at Jerry's World.
Yeah,
and we came out flat. The first half, but we was balling the second half.
I'm gonna say that became a very good game at the very end.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I mean, right down to the very end, it was a lot of fun.
And because of cold, I don't know. I had great seats. Like literally, I felt like the Cyclones were like right in front of me.
Well, yeah. And you were playing at football at Iowa State at the end of kind of like that Jeff Grayer, that type of era, getting into, but really from like Jeff Hornacek, Barry Stevens, Jeff Grayer into like Justice Thigpen, all of that transition. There was a consistent Big 8 play. You can't go into Hilton and lose type of thing. Yeah. As a football player, did you get to go to many basketball games?
Oh yeah. I'm telling you, I rocked the mayor's jersey. I'm serious. Like at all my Iowa State functions, I rock it. When they played UNLV, I flew out there and had my If you look at my Facebook, you will see that jersey.
I see it. Yeah, when you friended me the other day, I was like, is that?
Whatever I wear, they go, that's the mayor's number. I said, of course I know that. Baby.
He's dead to me now. When he said that he was finally home when he took that Nebraska job.
Whatever.
I'm not right.
See, Blaise is on my side. It's not right.
My high school basketball jersey was 14 for Jeff Hornacek. I learned Jeff Hornacek, the guy that was a pass first guy through all of his Big 8 career, got to the NBA, completely changed his game to be a dagger 3-point shooter. That seems to be a thing that Iowa State by the way, that's a thing Iowa State basketball players go to, right? Like George Niang was an all-around basketball player, but he's a dead-eye 3-point shooter. Yeah. Fred Hoiberg was an all-around basketball player in the Big 8. Got to the NBA, turned into be a dagger 3-point shooter, right? Jeff Hornacek led the Big 8 in assists, set the Big 8 record for assists. He was a pass first guy.
Yeah. Led
the NBA in 3-pointers. I don't know what it is about Iowa State basketball players. When they get there, they just hone in on that sharpshooter thing. Is there something that changes between college and pro sports that just changes your approach to the game in general?
I definitely coaching. Like I'm saying, I did not know. Back in my day, they told me to run it flat. I run up 5 yards, make it right. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how to set somebody up running a pass route because I was never really a receiver. I would catch a screen, a swing, or a flat. Mm-hmm. When you get to pro, they want you to run a route like a receiver. Mm-hmm. And so I think like that makes you learn more about your game. In Canada, he basically made me go over there and work with the receivers against defensive backs, and for 23-year-olds never done this before, you got to pick it up quick. And I think when you get pro, just there's so many different coaches that can notice something you can do and hone in on your skill. I think that's where they can pull it out of you.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, basically a high school coach is just like, you know, the science teacher. I mean, what the fuck does he know? You know what I'm saying? I mean, he don't know.
I'll tell you right now, the high school coach we got doesn't know shit. So he's the most hated guy in town, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's tough. It'll be hard for me to recruit high school kids because it's hard to tell who's. You can have, like, out here we have these powerhouse Catholic schools, and the Catholic schools can handpick. They can recruit. They can give scholarships.
Yeah.
Well, if you're playing Cypress High where I went, you know, it's just who's ever in the neighborhood got a helmet on. That's a whole different dynamic.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, you know, it's not the same. Like Bryce Young, who lives in my neighborhood.
Yep.
But Bryce Young went to Modern Day, and they say, I mean, you know, Matt Liner went to Modern Day. I mean, these is a factory over at Modern Day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very well. It's different because you also, I mean, you don't see the JUCO route necessarily the way that it was when you played. Like it's just because these high schools have become essentially that type of method, right?
Yes,
like
yes.
These high schools have largely become like a farm system that the JUCOs used to play.
Exactly. I mean, I went to JUCO because I couldn't read, to be honest with you, but I didn't want to go to JUCO. But I got a scholarship out of high school to Hawaii, and I was so far behind because I was just fucking around, and I was messing around. And to be honest with you, I was only playing football for girls. I really wasn't. I wasn't playing to do shit else. Honestly, my game plan was the Air Force. And after my 10th grade year, you know, this Oregon State coach came to look at a kicker. And he asked the coach, you think anybody can play Division I? He says, well, I think Blaise can. And he pulled me out of class. I was like, oh, shit, what do I do now? And, he said, well, how are your grades, son? And I said, well, I get A's and B's. He said, really? I said, well, yeah. Why are you so surprised? And he said, well, you got a counselor? I said, yeah, that's my track coach. We go talk to my counselor. He says, Blaise says he gets A's and B's. He says, well, he does, but he's in remedial classes. So from that point on, I started taking all these college courses and going to community college at night. And I did everything I had to do. But I had to score 900 on the SAT. And I took it 3 times, I'm not going to lie to you. And the highest I got was like 882. So I could go to Hawaii and be Prop 48, or I could go to community college. So I'm like, if I go to Hawaii, I'm going to quit. So I might as well go to community college. And that's how I ended up in community college. And that's when I really got serious about, like, myself, life, football, everything. Because there was a whole bunch of guys at community college that were, 22 to 25 that had already made all these horrible mistakes. And they kind of just took me by the arm and just kind of guided me in the right direction.
Not do what they did.
Yeah. I tell you what, this seems like a really good segue. Chris has a special question that is going to be brought to you by our friend Kyle Lehman at Wintrust Mortgage. Chris, I'm going to go ahead and let you ask this question. We'll get a word from Kyle, and we'll get Blaise's answer after that break.
Yeah, so I'll give you this question, Blaise, and then during the break, you think of a good answer here. But I'm going to change the question up a little bit. NIL is a thing now. I want you to think about if NIL was around when you were in college. What product are you hawking? What are you selling? What's the item that you would want your name, image, and likeness on and get paid for? So we'll think about that, and then we'll come back with your answer.
Okay.
Are you in the market for a new house and unsure of the mortgage process? Want to know that you have someone looking out for you? Kyle Lehman from Wintrust Mortgage is a down-to-earth, knowledgeable lender who can be there for you in your corner. He can work with you in any of the 50 states and is just what you need to expand your home search. Kyle will work with you through the entire process with little to no work from you. Take the worry of the mortgage process out of the equation so that you can focus on looking for your dream home. Contact Kyle at www.wintrust.com/Kyle-Lehman or call him at 515-473-0546.
All right. So thank you very much, Kyle. We appreciate your support of Old Man Strength on Three Beards Media. Please go ahead and check out all the other Three Beards Media podcasts. We have a lot of things, including one podcast, Side of the Storm, featuring a gentleman that Blaise mentioned earlier, Marcus Pfizer, with Brent Gervais and George Trice. They've had a lot of great guests on. Brett Meyer, a bunch of other amazing former athletes on, talking a lot about what coaching, what it really means to be a college coach and what it really means to play for one of those college coaches. So please go and check out all the other podcasts on. We have a bunch of new ones coming online as well. Chris is in like 6 different podcasts.
I'm not in 6 different podcasts.
Well, you're a lot of them anyway. So please go and check those out. So anyway, Blaise, let's say NIL was a thing back in your day, and forget the Walden and Orr, Bartles and James commercials. What?
You're going way back.
Yeah. Oh, those were a lot of fun. But what product do you think would have best represented Blaise Bryant? What would you have been proud to represent at the time?
Is it a product?
It's whatever you want it to be.
Can I give 2?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Hickory Park.
Okay.
And the High Life Lounge in Des Moines.
Look at that.
Blaise,
I'm gonna send a note to Bruno. I'm gonna cut this right now and send it to Bruno.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Blaise, you one of my top 5 favorite players of all time, but to go High Life Lounge, I think you just moved up. I'm so in love with that place. I love the fact that they've had the same Farrah Fawcett poster in the bathroom for well over a decade. Like just the classic old school guy, and like as a guy who's in the adult beverage industry, that's one of those places that I think I have to send everyone to, because you just need to be able to just enjoy the High Life Lounge. I would have.
Every time I go, it's my first stop from the airport.
Yeah.
Coming and going.
No, I love it. It's perfect. That makes me so happy that was your answer.
I just don't want to sound like a drunk, so I had to throw in Hickory Park too.
That's all right.
Yeah,
We are sponsored by a whiskey company.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's true. Yeah. No, you don't sound like a drunk. You sound like a glutton and a drunk for eating too much food and then going. I do. How often do you make it back?
God, not much. Not as much as I should. I want to say, God, I think I came back after my first year when I was still with the Jets. And then I don't think I came back again until 2003 when Seneca Waller beat Nebraska. And then 2011 when Oklahoma State. Mm-hmm. And then 2016 when Baker Mayfield, Oklahoma beat the living shit out of us.
Yeah.
And then it's just the Big 12 championship at Jerry's World, and then the UNLV game, I think in 2021 in Vegas.
Yeah, I was at that game too.
Yeah, but I need to get back. I was going to come back. I told you my mom passed, and I had a wedding to go to. And but I'm going to go to the BYU game this year at BYU.
Nice.
That's like I can get it like a quick little hour and 15-minute flight out of Long Beach. And if the snow's right, I can get some snowboarding in too.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, I tell you what, Blaise, if you make it back for a game, I'll drive down from Minneapolis. I'll meet you up for a tailgate. We can hit up some Hickory Park and maybe some High Life Lounge as well. Fit it all into the same weekend. But Yeah, you come back. We'll make sure to walk around and tailgate with you. I think it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's great. When I was back in 2016, I parked across from my old neighbor, which was strange. And then I parked next to Frank, the athletic trainer, when I was out there tailgating. And,
I brought it up at the top of the pod, and I wasn't going to bring it up again, but I have to because it comes like literally every single time your name has gotten mentioned on this podcast. My dad would also. I remember my dad loving your hair. I have to bring it up. How much do people remember you just by your hair alone?
oh, God. Everybody. Have you ever seen my high school picture?
No.
Mario,
Oh, I need to see this.
can you bring my high school picture out? Oh, you got to see it. I mean, that's a good one. But my high school one will destroy it.
Oh.
I mean, destroy it. It's the best one of all time.
I will tell you, there's a huge amount of the fandom that would love to see these jerseys come back and these throwbacks come back with that logo and that color scheme. I personally think you guys had the best uniforms.
Oh, that all black is good though.
Yeah, they are.
The all black and the all white is pretty. And I think the I and the state is the best one of all time.
Really?
Love it.
Wow.
Okay. No, that's good. I mean, you're from that kick and chicken era, right? Like the script cyclones, the red script cyclone on the yellow helmet to me is going to always be the most kind of iconic for me because that's when, that's kind of the helmet I think of for some of the earliest victories that meant a lot to me. There's some eras like Bird in a Blender that I would just, even though football was great, I don't like that. I didn't like the blue incorporated. I didn't like that whole thing. It's been a lot of brand changes throughout the year, but the to have someone that loves the eye, that's different. I like that though.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's the coolest one I've seen. I think when I was there's like a little club level at Jack Trice Stadium.
Yeah.
And it has every helmet in there. And I think one has Iowa State written on the side. I like that one too. But I do love, and it's hard to find, the old school champion Iowa State sweatshirt. It was $60 when we were in school. It was expensive.
Yeah. T Galaxy. That's
Remember
what it was.
Shit? I'm like, who in the hell got $60 for a sweatshirt?
Listen, the bookstore released some Ames throwback yesterday. They want $76 for it. I was like, that's ridiculous.
I can't. It's so hard to find those. And I've had them. I think when I went back in 2003, I bought like 5, and I think I got one left. My kids stole them all.
Do you still have Letterman jacket?
Yeah.
It's funny because I haven't been back on campus in a while, but I see the players still wearing the same. It's the exact when my dad's wrestling Letterman jacket from way back in the day. It's the exact same thing. Like that's the one thing that has not changed. Decade to decade to decade to decade is that Letterman jacket looks.
Yeah, and it's heavy as hell too.
I actually have one. Somebody was selling one on Facebook Marketplace.
Really?
I thought I'm going to buy that because God knows what'll happen to it. And apparently, it was an ex-girlfriend of an old football player that to get him back, she sold his Letterman jacket.
I mean, it's a big, thick, heavy wool and leather. Oh my God!
Oh, shut up!
Oh my God!
That is
Blaise. Blaise, can you do me a favor? Can you send that to Chris so he can post that on social media for us?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You got to text that to me.
Is that better than the one at Iowa State?
That's. How much hairspray is in there?
Wait, what is in there?
Look at there, huh? What?
See, you gotta send me those.
Yeah. That boy is sexy.
I gotta have those.
You are a brave man, Blaise. We've
got to have those. Because I've got to.
Chris.
I I gotta promote that. That'll get us some listeners.
I did not realize Flock of Seagulls had that broad of an audience. That is,
Oh yeah,
that
that's an old school one too. There for
There you go. Yeah, see?
right.
Yeah, that's when it was nice and Aquanet was in it. Yeah.
You know what, Blaise? You just print that up, sign it, and send it to me. I'll put it down here in my basement. I'll put that right down here in the basement with all the other stuff. I think I might have a photo of you down here somewhere.
Blaise, I apologize. Again, one of my all-time favorite players at Iowa State, one of the first All-Americans I can remember. Just the legacy that you left at Iowa State and the way that you paved the way for so many great running backs after you. But I still cannot also forget the legacy for great hair that you left. It just it is the one thing when, we've had John Walters on, we've mentioned it, we've had a few different folks on, and that one's still, Denny says don't stand near any open flames with that hair.
I'm telling you, I was at LAX one time and a brother screamed out, "Patty LaBelle!"
Oh man. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm gonna need those other two photos, Blaise.
Oh my God. You should. I got a picture of me and Don Hole, my Hawaii recruit out of high school. He's looking at me like, who is this dude?
Oh my God, that's in Hawaii. Yeah, I can only imagine the humidity in Hawaii with that. Well, Blaise, we don't want to take up too much more time, but we do have one very last segment that we want to go ahead and bring to our listeners. And I'm going to let Chris go ahead and talk about what this last segment is.
Yeah. So, before I get into this, Blaise, I just want to I want to thank you. I've been a big fan of yours ever since I was 18 years old and on campus watching you. So this has been a real pleasure to be able to sit down and talk to you. I can't thank you enough for that. So
appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me.
This next segment is in honor of Steph Copley, who one time told Tim and I to shut the fuck up so that she could get her words in. And in honor of that, we always play a little clip and invite people to donate to the Young Women's Resource Center in her name. So I'm going to play this, and then when we come back, Tim and I are going to shut the fuck up, and you can say whatever you want. The floor is yours. So let's get a word here, and then we'll come back with Blaise.
Hey everybody, it's Steph Copley, the woman behind the STFU segment on the Old Man Strength podcast. When I told the guys I wanted to sponsor this segment, they recommended that I make a charitable donation instead, so that's what I did. I chose the Young Women's Resource Center in Des Moines, Iowa. They're a nonprofit that supports, educates, and advocates for girls and young women ages 10 to 24. Their whole goal is to make sure that these young women become strong, self-confident, and successful. And if you know me at all, you know that aligns with my goals as well. If you're interested and would like to donate, check them out at ywrc.org and donate today. And remember, don't forget to STFU and listen every once in a while. Thanks.
Okay.
With that, Blaise, the floor is yours.
I would like to thank Iowa State just for always, I guess, just always being there for me, always recognizing me. You know, whenever I come back, you know, they want me to be on TV or the radio or something. And for the people that, you know, send me the cards and I always sign them and send them back to you, I just like to thank Iowa State from the bottom of my heart for letting a little young brother in from California that never seen the snowfall, you know, and embracing me the way they have for over 30 years.
I think that's great. That's very beautiful. Man, this is a conversation that has been 30 plus years in the making for me. Certainly. I told my dad, I told my nephew, I told cousins that I was going to be able to talk to you because it's, you know, my cousin Matt went to Iowa State with me at the same time. We were all very excited about you and your career. So this is one of the few times we've been able to talk to someone at Iowa State where I've been legitimately just kind of struck by a child, you know, a young legend anyway, I guess. So I very much appreciate that. I'm really glad you took the time. But I really I really admire everything that you've done since as well. Man, I really hope you wouldn't mind coming back on sometime or joining us for any kind of special things we might do, because it's just been a blast having you on.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I'll come on again. Sometimes my schedule in my brain is not right. So
it's all those damn hits. It's that hit from the back.
Yeah. That's
that lack of water.
That's it's the old man and old man strength. I got to tell you.
Right.
Yeah. Right. But I appreciate you guys having me on, and I'll get my assistant to keep me on time and make sure she keeps me in the office.
No, I appreciate it. And Blaise, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
You too. Thanks a lot.
Well, listener, that is what we have. Once again, you have spent. This has been actually a very great hour and a half spent. I'm not even going to disparage Chris and I on this, because we had a wonderful guest. We thank you very much for listening to Old Man Strength, brought to you by Three Beards Media and Revelton Distilling Company. Please, once again, check out all of the podcasts. We're growing like mad at Three Beards Media, so I don't even have time to talk about all of the podcasts that we have. We have some new ones that I want you to go and check out. Some great things in the works. Chris, do you want to highlight something in particular?
Well, we did make our donations to the We Will Collective in honor of women's sports. We made a $200 donation to them for the T-shirts that we sold. So we're going to relaunch those here in a couple of days and see if we can raise some more money for NIL for the women's athletes. So really proud of that. So
love women's sports.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, with that, listeners, thank you very much, and we will see you guys next time.